Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Secretary. I'm just going to send the rest of my list to you because it's a long list. But my first question is about equity, and I just say this: my concern is with the issue of cannabis and the commission being set up, the issue of the monies we're saving from closing of the prisons, and we still only have $1 million going to reduce the phone calls as opposed to using more of that money to offset some of the things we've seen, including the phone calls and the issues we had during COVID, why we couldn't let more people out of prison. So the governor talked yesterday in his presentation about equity, and a lot of what I hear seems like we're talking about equalizing things, which isn't equity. If you could explain what the administration means when it talks about equity, I think that would be useful and instructive for all of us. And I'll just give you the second question so you have it to start with. The second question is about the budget, and in a lot of places I see that the holdbacks and rescissions are annualized. And when we make those rescissions, usually it's something we weren't looking to do. We had that as a piece of policy, and we did it because we needed to make the budget work, but it wasn't something we needed to do. And the proliferation of those things being annualized over the next 2 years is interesting to me. And I want to know how we think about doing that. Are we just doing it to make the budget work? Because it would seem to me that we need some of that money to go back to where it was, even if we were able to do to make it work for that short period of time. And then I'll send you the big list of other questions.
Absolutely.
Madam Secretary, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure that any information that any member asks for goes to the administrator, so it goes out to everybody.
Absolutely. No, we understand and know your protocol. Senator, thank you for asking the question about equity. And I apologize that you didn't get to see the full presentation where we talk about how the governor addresses equity, because it's weaved throughout his policy proposals. First of all, from the perspective of education, in the workforce package, one of the key components of addressing equity has to do with the fact that our most challenged populations need to have better access to economic opportunity. And what does that mean? Well, we know that one of the ways to break the cycle of poverty and lack of achievement is achieving a post-secondary education, whether that's a degree or a certificate. That people need to have access to jobs and they need the talent and the skills. So part of his strategy is making sure that one, the programs we're offering are actually the ones that employers are hiring for, and two, our kids that are in high school that sometimes don't have parents that will sit down and do a FAFSA with them, or just don't know how to do that and don't know how to guide them and navigate. One of his recommendations is that every high school student must complete a FAFSA before they can graduate from high school, so that one, they know that they can actually get aid. The second component of that is there's a portion of the package that focuses on automatic college admissions for certain members, the higher members of the class, for example. His focus is on making sure that kids can break the cycle through educational attainment. That's number one. Number two, he funds PACT. PACT was left unfunded. We know that the state colleges and universities took it upon themselves to lead and to take from their reserves at a time when they didn't know how they were going to meet their own operations. And $6 million is in the budget to fund the last dollar needed to ensure that some kids won't be turned away because they're missing $400 to support their educational program. So PACT is funded. In the other area of education for charter schools have been before this committee and they have been before the administration, talking about the fact that there's an unequal playing field with respect to how we fund them. The ECS Foundation pays more than what we were paying to our charter schools that serve a significant number of underrepresented populations. So, equity is baked throughout. Equity is baked in some of the energy proposals on driving down, pollution and gases in our society, which our urban districts have some of the worst asthma numbers. It impacts public health. If you're talking about, did the governor put the money back into the prisons? No, he did not. You have the budget, you have the pen, and if you feel that that is the priority, then you can certainly do so. His focus is on the kids that are out there, giving them opportunity to break the cycle and to be successful. And so you're going to see that weaved throughout his proposals.
Senator Winfield, does that answer your question?
Actually, it doesn't, but I will make sure that in the hearings I bring it up. Look, I'm not trying to propose the policy for the governor. I'm saying that equity requires us to do things in a way that is not equal across the board. It requires us to focus on things, and it requires revenue, quite frankly. And what I'm seeing in this budget doesn't look like equity to me, but we will have a long discussion. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to engaging in discussion because we all have different views of what equity looks like. On the cannabis front, you should look at the bill because the bill focuses on bringing stakeholder input to the table to describe what equity looks like because it looks different to different people. So that particular commission will bring recommendations on how revenues can be spent to address equity, which is precisely what I hear you saying is there should be an investment back into the community. That is reflected into the Social Equity Commission. And we look forward to hearing more ideas from you, Senator, on what you believe equity looks like. I'm hoping you recognize some of the progress that's in here.
So Senator Wynn.